For the first time in the 100-year history of the Tour de France, the prologue and the first stage of the world's most grueling road race has come to London. And as an avid fan of the Tour de France, I have come in to join in the atmosphere and see the world's famous riders as they pass through London's famous landmarks. Seeing the fanfare that preceded the 2007 Tour de France reminded me of an adventure I took many years ago back in Nigeria. It started on a Friday afternoon when my dad dropped me off at a bus station in Kaduna to make my way back to my place of study, which was in Bida, 300 kilometers away. I had been planning this for a few months, so as soon as my dad was off, I boarded a bus back into town and made my way to the Leventis supermarket, where I bought myself a brand new 5-speed racing cycle. My plan was to ride my new bike all the way to Bida, 300 kilometers away. To make sure my bike was ready for the journey, I took it to a local bike mechanic who checked it out and certified it ready. While I thought I had prepared for this journey, little did I know what was ahead of me. As I started cycling out of town, I saw my dad's car and had to hide from him because he thought I was on a bus making my way to Bida. 10 kilometers out of town, it became apparent how ill-prepared I had been for this trip. I was thirsty, and even though I had made sure that my bag was light enough for me to carry on my back, I had no water nor food. So I had to stop at a hamlet and ask for some water before continuing on my journey. I made another stop a few hours later, and around 5:30 p.m. that evening, I made my third and final stop at a local hamlet where I was offered some water, and the people were friendly enough. They even offered me some food, a bed and a room to stay for the night. So I called it a night, having traveled only 50 kilometers that day. At 6 a.m. the next morning, I started day 2 of my trip very early, making use of the early morning to make some very good progress before stopping off to buy some supplies that would last me through the day and some food. The progress on that day was very good, and I managed to cover 150 kilometers before calling it a night. I wasn't lucky this time to have a bed offered to me, but I was offered a mat and I was able to sleep under the northern Nigeria skies with a few mosquitoes buzzing around me. The third and final day of my trip started very early in the morning again, and by now I was used to pacing myself, so I made very good progress in the morning. Mid-morning I was able to get my supplies, get my food, get enough water, and by 2 p.m. that day I arrived at Bida, 300 kilometers from Kaduna, on my 5-speed cycle. My colleagues in college were very impressed with my journey, but little did I know that I was going to pay for this trip. A week later, I succumbed to malaria, probably due to the exhaustion and the lowering of my immune system. And so ended my adventurous journey, which began 300 kilometers away in Kaduna on my 5-speed bike.